a new habitat has appeared, entirely designed and constructed by one species for its own purpose. These crevices contain the highest density of lizards in the world. And to early visitors, this new world was already home to First Nations people.
My husband Bruce is now in here. Want a beer?
I would argue that they're missing the forest for the trees.
A young brain searches for understanding in slow stages, working out what things are and how they work.
And semantically correct.
But no sign of the national...
Out comes the tiny, underdeveloped little worm.
Pretty tranquil down here.
We got to do what we can. We always have.
This is a male, and life here suits him well. This extraordinary creature is half blind, half deaf, and this is just about as fast as it can move.
I've been talking so much.
Wow, that's a very honest nature show, and pretty much they're all animals, and once you start seeing it that way, things start to make sense. Welcome back, beautiful and amazing human beings. This is Luke Rudowski of WeAreChange.org. A lot of very important news to get into as the Biden administration is announcing a third procedure, a part of its mandates that surprisingly a lot of people aren't following and don't have to be mandated by. All of this as the Gates and Rockefeller foundations are literally signaling the alarms. What's happening here? Well, we're going to explain that plus a lot more in this video. But before we do, the clip that we played in the beginning of this broadcast is by a group called Power Tie. I don't know who they are. Someone just randomly sent me this video, and I just thought it was absolutely brilliant. They have a YouTube channel that, of course, we linked down in the description below if you want to check out more of their stuff. And now, just jumping into the news, because there's so much to talk about right now, it's absolutely ridiculous. As, of course, we have the latest announcement by the U.S. Secretary of State that he doesn't know who the United States, along with him, carried out a drone strike against. As previously, the Biden administration was saying that it stopped an ISIS-K imminent threat and saved countless of American lives. The U.S. mainstream media regurgitated that. They celebrated the Biden administration. They cheered him on. They said he did an incredible job. And now we're finding out that the person that was attacked here was a very prominent U.S. aid worker that was assassinated along with 7 children for absolutely no reason at all. U.S. Senator Rand Paul actually told the head of the State Department, Anthony Blinken, that, quote, "You'd think you'd kind of know before you off somebody with a Predator drone, whether he's an aid worker or an ISIS-K member." The U.S. Secretary of State also announced that the U.S. government will be taking money from its poor citizens and be giving it to the leadership of Afghanistan, which is currently in the hands of the Taliban, to the tune of $64 million, which U.S. Senator Rand Paul called absolutely foolish, and I would have to agree with him as well. In related, absolutely insane members of the U.S. military news, we found out from investigative journalist Bob Woodward that is claiming that U.S. General Mark Milley went behind the former president's back, behind Donald Trump's back, with secret, unauthorized communications with his Chinese counterpart to tell him that he would warn the Chinese if there would be any impending attacks by the United States against the Chinese. At the time, the Joint Chiefs Chairman Milley also, quote, engaged in an alleged top-secret mission to undermine President Trump's ability to order any kind of military strikes or launch any nuclear weapons, allegedly because Milley worried about Donald Trump, quote, going rogue. Now, again, these are all allegations according to Bob Woodward, but clearly show Milley violating his oath of office and stepping outside of the chain of command, which Donald Trump today is calling treasonous, and that there should be some serious charges put against Milley. What actually happened here? Well, hopefully we are going to be finding out in the next few days, as there are allegations of clear collusion between current U.S. military members who just facilitated the transfer of billions of dollars of U.S. military hardware into the hands of Taliban. And of course, the Chinese that have greatly benefited from this larger geopolitical blunder that the United States has just committed in Afghanistan. And with military government leadership like this, who needs enemies? And these are the same people that are now trying to get more control of your personal decisions and health. And before we get into that, plus a lot more, we wanted to remind you about one of the companies that we have been working with for a very long time now, and that is Pro One water filters. And whether you're looking for gravity systems, indoor pressure systems, replacement filters for your camper, your shower, your well water, whatever it may be, Pro One has it. I like their company. I use their products. And I'm very happy I do. And I don't go to the big box stores like Costco and get all the microplastic, corporately unethical, mass-produced fluoride plastic water. And that now I save a lot of time, a lot of energy, and a lot of money just by simply having a filter. Also, don't forget to add minerals to your water, especially when you filter it, so you could adequately stay hydrated, which is a key important element of taking care of yourself. So yeah, get away from the soy boy microplastics, get yourself a water filter. The link is down below, and if you check it out, this also goes towards supporting this independent media broadcast. Also, by the way, we're going to have another video ready for you later on today on LukeUncensored.com, specifically going over the latest troubling developments in Australia, as well as some more shocking stories that, of course, you cannot hear on this platform. You will, though, later on today on LukeUncensored.com. I hope to see you later on there today. Now, I think it's fair to say that the government thinking that it could keep everyone healthy is an absolutely delusional idea. And there is circumstantial evidence showing the more intervention that they do, that results in more harm. And I think it's fair to criticize here that almost everything the government has done here has absolutely been ineffective and doesn't work, especially when you look at the case numbers and when you compare them from last year to this year. And it is a dangerous delusion to believe that the government is going to be keeping everyone healthy and safe. History tells a completely different tale of government, and that's why people should naturally be skeptical of what the government is doing, especially during emergency situations. As of course, we have the latest announcement from the federal government that they are taking control of the antibody treatments related to this sickness and will be allocating it where they deem appropriate. Now, this antibody treatment, according to some preliminary studies, have shown very promising results. The federal government taking control of them is another marker of this, as the same federal government is pushing for a third shot along with a recent mandate that they just rolled out a few days ago. This to the protest of some in the FDA that recently even publicly resigned because of what they called an overzealous, aggressive push for a third procedure. Now, if the Biden administration is going to be announcing next week this third procedure, I think it's important to highlight and look at other countries who have already done so. And one of the places that has done this and has the most amount of compliance with its citizenry taking this procedure in record levels, some of the highest levels in the world, that now have the highest population of citizens that took the third procedure. What's the result of this? Well, right now, Israel has been hit with a surge in new cases, as their country had already the highest rate of individuals that took this procedure originally. Procedure 1, Procedure 2. They're taking a third procedure, and now they're dealing with what NPR is calling a dramatic surge, with some medical professionals calling it the sickness hotspot of the world right now. It's also important to note here that other places like Iceland, the United Kingdom, and Singapore, with also populations with high number of compliance with this procedure, some of the places that took this procedure more than any other places in the world, are also dealing with an increase in cases, specifically Singapore, that has an 80% compliance rate of individuals that took this procedure, and their case numbers are surging in their country. Now, we know, even according to Dr. Fauci, this procedure doesn't stop you from spreading the sickness. We're also learning that its efficacy declines very rapidly compared, of course, to natural immunity. This is why the Biden administration is soon going to be announcing this third procedure. This is why Israel announced it and made it a part of their own mandate domestic passport system in their country. And initially, right now, it's important to highlight that it's not working, and it's having the opposite effects. What's really happening here, I don't know. I'm not a medical professional, but it is important to highlight that there are very significant Israeli studies already on the books right now that are highlighting how natural immunity from getting this sickness and getting healthy is helping and protecting people way more than this procedure. And the people who have taken this procedure are, according to this Israeli study, 27 times more likely to get sick, 8 times more likely to go to the hospital than, of course, people with natural immunity. And again, this study was even acknowledged by Dr. Fauci, that said he couldn't explain why this is happening, and that, quote, there should be more of a conversation about this, and I absolutely agree with him. Can't believe I would say that. This is also all going on as the Gates Foundation, along with the Rockefeller Foundation, are working together ahead of the UN General Assembly and warning the world that poor countries need to take this procedure as well. And they're announcing that their global progress is, quote, being set back by what's happening right now. What's happening right now? Well, the administration here in the United States issued a mandate, and more people are not following it. Members of Congress, members of the post office, now even NBA players are not subject to this mandate, as we got the latest announcement that the NBA's player union has just rejected these mandates to be implemented against their players. They're players who are usually healthy athletes, some of which have natural immunity, and this is the first major move, which of course will have major repercussions, will be used as an example for other unions to successfully be able to collectively bargain and to decide what is right for them to do with their own bodies, with given the ability to have bodily autonomy. Along with members of Congress and their staff, postal workers, and NBA players, it's also migrants crossing the border that do not have to comply with these mandates by Biden, as well as an estimated 200,000 U.S. military active duty members that are now fighting in court in a federal lawsuit against these mandates. As of course, the U.S. military command just issued all U.S. service members to take this procedure. Many of them are not. And what will the judge decide in this federal lawsuit? Well, of course, we're going to be keeping a close eye on this story, but there's another very important judicial decision that was just made in New York that stopped these mandates to be implemented against medical workers, as of course, there's already a medical shortage, a labor shortage, a worker shortage. There's already hospitals that had to stop a lot of their very important procedures because of these ridiculous mandates. A judge just officially blocked this mandate from being implemented against healthcare workers in New York because of the desperate situation there, specifically saying that people's constitutional rights were violated to their own bodies, and I have to agree with him there. And ongoing, there are still many very important court proceedings happening right now surrounding this issue, and more by the day, less and less people are complying with these ridiculous mandates, as the majority of Americans, majority of business owners do not want to comply with them. The majority of people aren't complying with them, from what I'm getting specifically on the ground in New York, from the information I'm also getting in places like France. Poll numbers show an overwhelming dislike of this mandate, and this mandate that was pushed on by executive decree is already failing in many ways than one. People are being warned, people are being threatened, but a lot of people aren't complying. The administration is even vocally taking a step back, as we had Biden's Commerce Secretary saying that these mandates are not mandatory mandate, saying that, quote, nobody is being forced here, which is the opposite of what the Biden administration has been saying, as they've been forcing people to do this, extorting them, manipulating them. And whatever your stance is, whether you're for the procedure or not for the procedure, it's also important to know that there's many people that are for the procedure that are against this mandate. It's also important to note that there's many businesses who are already dealing with major supply shortages, major labor shortages, who can't comply with this, as we're getting reports that already 2/3 of businesses worldwide are having difficulties hiring enough people to get the job done. Add another layer of mandates, of hoops people need to jump through in order to work. That's just ridiculous. It's not going to work. And already, This mandate is shattering into many pieces with formal non-compliance. What do you think about that? Do you like that? Do you dislike that? Let me know down in the comment section below. Again, not a medical doctor, not here giving you medical advice, giving you just my perspective from what I see here through this video platform. And if you disliked it, dislike the video. If you have constructive criticism, I always appreciate that. If you liked it, if you found this video important, it's incredibly key that you share this video with your friends, family members, strangers, whoever it may be. And because you guys still do that, I'm still here. I got one more video coming your way later on today on LukeUncensored.com. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. Love you guys. Stay tuned for more.